Hey, what is up everybody? This is Derek from Game of Skins and welcome to my channel. So if you're new here, I'll be talking about personal finance, stock investing, money saving tips. So let's dive in. So in this episode, I just wanted to talk about recession-resistant stocks and specifically REITs. So what is a REIT? A REIT is abbreviation for Real Estate Investment Trust, and it's pretty much your way of investing in real estate. There's many different types of REITs to invest in, and why don't we just dive into what this episode will be about. And so as the title of this episode will be about is recession-resistant REITs. I'm not talking about office REITs per se. I'm looking more things that in businesses that will protect my investments, things that I know that businesses can survive in the long run. And why don't we talk about some of the qualities of these recession-resistant REITs? First of all, the qualities of perpetual human need, things that people will need no matter what, either in the good times and especially in the bad times. There could be a low supply of what this REIT may be providing. Also, if you're the only REIT in town that supplies this thing, it'll be low competition. And the great thing about these recession-resistant businesses, these REITs, is that they have very stable, very regular cash flows, and these cash flows may be maintained or increasing. We would like to look for the ones that are always increasing because that only means that we're earning more money as investors. And lastly, the most wonderful kinds of REITs are the ones that have very low capital requirements. So very low investments in terms of trying to keep the business going. So low capital investments is needed just to make sure that the business keeps running and generating more and more money. So the first REIT that I wanted to talk to you guys about is a company called Choice Properties REIT. And this is a spin-off from a big supermarket chain in Canada from Loblaws. If you're in Canada, you know Loblaws is everywhere. They have businesses like Shoppers Drug Mart, Superstore, Maxis, No Frills, things like that. And they're this huge grocery store chain, and probably everybody that you know in Canada would have gone through one of their businesses. So it's spun off from Loblaws. And because of it, its major tenant is Loblaws. And Loblaws pretty much accounts for 55% of its rent revenue. So a heavy concentration of its money coming from its business with Loblaws. Also, a big shareholder of Choice Properties. It comes from the billionaire family, the billionaire Weston family. So they also control Loblaws as well. And they're a big shareholder that is financially invested and interested in making sure that their properties are functioning well and servicing their other major stake in the Loblaws supermarket chain. There's the business mix of Choice Properties in terms of who they rent out to is majority are grocery retailers. From what you can experience because of the COVID-19 pandemic that we're experiencing, that grocery store chains do not shut down. As many health mandates arise, they do not shut down, and very, very low restrictions in terms of, because people need their food, people need their drugs, people need everything that's needed for life to keep functioning, right? So because of it, it has very, very high occupancy rate. So in Choice Properties second quarter statement, they have a 97% occupancy rate. So nobody leaves because they're just so heavily focused on the things that people need in life. Food, groceries, gasoline even. Nobody is going to stop buying groceries. Nobody is going to stop buying their drugs. Nobody's going to stop buying diapers. So you can be rest assured that people will always still need to keep shopping. And because of that, at these grocery stores, Choice Properties is a fail-safe of a stable company to invest in. In terms of the retail portfolio, 71% of their retail portfolio is grocery stores and pharmacy chains. As like I said, those are recession-resistant businesses. And currently, if you happen to want to jump into the water with this company and invest, the current dividend yield is about almost 5%. So it's a nice, juicy dividend to park your money and just set it and forget it. No need to worry. Plus, you have this major shareholder, which is the billionaire Weston family, that aren't going to run the business to the ground because they're so heavily invested in the company. So the next stock that I wanted to talk about is Slate Grocery REIT. So Slate, S-L-A-T, and they are pretty much the choice of the United States, pretty much, where most of their businesses is pretty much renting to tenants, and those tenants are grocery store chains. So if you're in the US, you always must have encountered a Walmart, a Kroger, things like that you have probably shopped at if you're in the United States. And they're very heavily concentrated in these grocery anchored shopping centers. So that's all they focus on in terms of a business. Like I said about Choice Properties, they're very recession resistant because like every human being, they need to buy their groceries, they need to buy their pharmacy drugs, things like that. And groceries and supermarket chains tenants consist of 38% of the portfolio for Slate. They have a 93% occupancy rate. The thing about these grocery store centered shopping centers is that because the shopping centers are anchored by these grocery store chains, they also draw businesses for the stores that are adjacent to the grocery store, and this leads to making sure that the occupancy is high. And this is a very great thing if you happen to be in those shopping centers that are attached to these grocery anchors, because if you need to do your shopping, you need to get a haircut, right? So and that's quite beneficial as a draw, because with people needing to get their groceries, they need to stop by other things, get a Starbucks, get some home appliance, things like that. So like the shopping malls of old, where those anchor stores like Sears and Nordstrom, those were the things that attracted people to the shopping malls. The same thing is happening with these grocery-centered shopping centers, where the grocery store is the main tenant, and because of them, they attract people to all the other businesses that are in that shopping center. So the top tenants for Slate would be Kroger, Walmart, Ahold Delhaize, Publix, etc. Those are big, well-known retailers, grocery retailers. So Slate Grocery was set up by Slate Investment Management. So this company owns about 7.1% of this REIT. So, and their subsidiary manages this REIT. So there's quite a bit of control to make sure that its business interests are maintained, and the dividend produces a very fat, juicy 8.1% dividend. So if you want to lock in that dividend now, that is one fantastic passive income stream that you can get for investing in Slate. So the next company I want to talk about is Granite REIT. Granite like the rock. So this company was spun off from Magna International, Magna International's real estate division. And if you don't know what Magna is Magna supplies pretty much a lot of the components of what we see in our cars. Things like part of the things that are needed in the engine, seatbelts, what have you. They are a big player in this multi-billion-dollar car industry. So its focus in terms of Granite's REITs focus in terms of its business is two major real estate categories. So one is the distribution slash e-commerce business. The second is the industrial and warehousing business. We can see that because of, like many people have been talking about over and over and over again about COVID-19, is that there's been a shift in terms of how we do business and how people shop. And it's really driven towards the online shopping. And because of this, people need more warehouse space. People need more manufacturing space. People need to cater towards businesses that are shifting away from the brick and mortar towards the e-commerce distribution sites. So Granite REIT is a huge landlord that deals with providing such a space for this growing, massively expanding industry. Its largest tenant is, of course, Magna International, but the company has been on a path towards diversifying away from this one major tenant in terms of accounting more for its revenue. Currently, Magna International accounts for 36% of its revenue. And, you know, like I said, COVID-19 has wreaked havoc on, already these weak supply chains. So just-in-time inventory, if you have taken economics and business courses, just-in-time inventory is not going to work, where inventory arrives just in time for manufacturers or distributors to send to their customers. Rather, it's right now, especially the supply chains that are weakened and it's taking a long time to get supplies, it's almost geared towards a almost hoarding paradigm of materials and supplies. So we can see from Granite REIT will have quite a big part to play. Also, it's a big industrial landlord that can quite well benefit from this growing shift of a paradigm. So if you invested in this company, it currently yields about a 3.2% dividend yield. So if you want to take part in this segment without being worried about investing in who is going to be the dominant player for e-commerce, why not just invest in the landlord that deals focusing mostly on people that are using its facilities, that deals with e-commerce. Okay, so the next stock that I want to talk about is a company called Flagship Communities REIT. So I can't really talk about, all these REITs unless I also include a landlord that deals with residential homes. So you may think, what is the safest residential business out there? A lot of you may not guess. A lot of you may think, oh, it's apartments, or it's single-family homes, or it is what have you. Flagship Communities deals solely with manufactured housing communities, so mobile home parks, manufactured home parks, things like that. That has been one of the most successful real estate investments that is the safest by far. And the thing about these manufactured communities is that it doesn't take much to live in a mobile home park or a manufactured home community, because the cost of living in one is so low. It's not the crazy numbers that you see in terms of renting for apartments. Rather, it is one of the closest ways that a person with low means to actually get into the housing market, actually have a place that they can call that it is their own home. Although in terms of these manufactured home communities, they may not own the land, but they do own the home itself that sits on the land. So these tenants pretty much rent the lot itself, the actual plot of land, and they own the actual home that sits on the land. So you get that pride of ownership as well. And that's also a very virtuous cycle that, when it's quite common that people who own their own home, there's this pride of ownership in terms of wanting to make sure that your community is safe, and you have this amazing way to connect with other people who also share in the same area of a manufactured home community. But this is a pure play of manufactured homes or mobile homes, mainly the homes that are listed under the portfolio for Flagship Communities. They're mostly in Kentucky, Indiana, Ohio, Tennessee. The thing is that more manufactured home communities are being bulldozed and redeveloped than being created, because city ordinances and city halls do not want more manufactured homes to be created, because that's an awful waste of land sort of thing. So as you can see, this creates a very smaller supply of these manufactured homes communities. So one of the biggest manufactured home community landlords is a man named Sam Zell. Sam Zell, if you don't know him, he's actually the father of the modern REIT. He has his finger in developing the real estate industry in the United States. And he saw the qualities of manufactured housing communities. And it is one of the safest residential investments that you can have, because first of all, when everything hits the fan, people lose income, and where do they need to go? They need to go where they can afford a place to live. And as everything shifts down during like a recession or if things go bad, these manufactured housing places are the place to be if you're in an economic pinch as a person. So when things are amazing, these manufactured homes are a place that are a jumping off point for a lot of these people who own the manufactured homes. But they also are stable, because if, like I said, things hit the fan, this provides a more affordable place to live. So the manufactured housing community, is speaking mainly with the United States, is quite fragmented. So there's a lot of mom and pops that are operating manufactured homes. And in terms of this company, Flagship Communities, it's owned, some part of it is, a lot of it's owned by Seymour Investment Management, which owns about almost 20% of the company, as well as 1832 Asset Management, which owns about 10% of Flagship Communities. So you have these two big shareholders of Flagship Communities that want to make sure that Flagship remains successful. And they have done quite a few acquisitions lately, ever since they've gone public in the public markets. And they have added to their portfolio. So the more and more of the manufactured housing communities in the United States are being consolidated. But it's, like I said, it's an asset that is growing in value because there's less of it being made. And lastly, I just wanted to talk about these two sister companies, two sister REITs, I would say. One is called Brookfield Infrastructure REIT, and the other one is Brookfield Renewable REIT. And both of them are, I would call them sister companies, because a lot of their shareholdings is owned by Brookfield Asset Management. And if you don't know what Brookfield Asset Management is that it's an alternate manager of money, where they take money from pension funds, high wealth investors, things like that. And I would call Brookfield Asset Management as the mothership, the mother company that owns more than 40% of both of these sister REITs. And like it is in the names of these two companies, infrastructure, renewables. Infrastructure, Brookfield Infrastructure deals with everything that deals with power generation, transmission lines, roll tolls, recession-resistant parts of our world where people need their power, people will need their water. And it deals with all the things that deals with utilities and things like that. So it's a fantastic business that is regulated cash flow. So it plays a great role, especially given that the U.S. is trying to vote on major infrastructure spending. So Brookfield Infrastructure REIT has quite a big part to play in terms of that pie, that investment money pie that's going to come from the U.S. Congress and Senate. And the next sister company is Brookfield Renewables, and like we see today, that everybody wants to decarbonize, and Brookfield Renewables is a huge company that's going to ride that wave towards decarbonizing our world. And it's your way of trying to be ethical in terms of your investing. Brookfield Renewables is a way for you to invest in renewables that will help humanity get off fossil fuels. So Brookfield Renewables, like in its title, deals with solar panels, wind power, tide power, hydropower, things that are that would not be emitting carbon. And both of these companies issue pretty nice yields of almost 3 to 4% in terms of a dividend, and they have been growing. They've been growing almost every year. So it's a great way to play of having that investment that is good for the world. It is good for humanity in terms of how we can get rid of carbon from the world. So that's it, guys. So thanks for watching. Let me know what you think of the video. Let me know if there's any REITs that I've missed. These REITs, I just wanted to tell you that they are listed, or some are only listed on the Toronto Stock Exchange. Some may be listed on the New York Stock Exchange, but I just focus on these companies that are listed on the Toronto Stock Exchange. So let me know. Leave in the comments that whether or not there's any other recession-resistant REITs that I've missed. So thanks for stopping by, and drop a like, leave a comment, and I'll catch y'all in the next video. Peace out, everybody.